much power does payment technology hold in shaping a company's growth? Well, today I'm going to be sitting down with Dwaine Thomas, CIO at PXP. And together, we're going to unpack how payment infrastructure has shifted from a back-office function to a strategic lever for customer loyalty and business agility. And I also want to talk about how PXP Unity, the company's new omni-channel orchestration platform, is promising merchants greater control, greater flexibility, and smarter automation, but without the headache of complexity. And I also want to explore how AI-driven development, real-time insights, and dynamic smart routing are already setting new standards for payment experiences. So with payments influencing everything from revenue to brand reputation, how can your business turn transactions into growth opportunities? And on that note, I think you're ready for me to officially introduce you to today's guest. So thank you for joining me on the podcast today. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Thanks, Neil. It's really, really good to be meeting you today. I'm Dwaine Thomas, the Chief Information Officer at PXP. I've been working in payments and fintech for around 20 years now, which is a bit of a lifetime. But with the way payments evolves, I guess it kind of rarely feels like I've been doing the same thing for too long. At PXP, my teams are responsible for platform operations primarily, so it covers infrastructure, information security, the internal business systems, and the platform architecture. And in the past year, I've taken on responsibility for our AI and automation strategy, and we're leading the vision really to turn repetitive business processes into autonomous intelligent solutions. We're also looking at how we can productize some of those things. So lots of exciting stuff we're working on in that space. Over the years, I've kind of positioned myself in roles that cross technical and operational functions. And it's mainly because I'm really drawn to that intersection of systems and technology and how it solves real world problems. I guess I've stuck with this industry because I find it fascinating how something that's so kind of fundamental to how we interact with businesses and commerce can be so complex behind the scenes. And when I work very closely with our customers and partners to build the right solutions, it can be really rewarding, which I suppose is my biggest motivation in payments and technology, is kind of breaking down complexity and creating solutions that are robust and reliable and scalable and observable and all of those great things. So yeah, that's me.
Wow, you've been on quite a journey there. And for anybody listening that's maybe outside of the fintech and payment space, and maybe they're unfamiliar with PXP or hearing about it for the first time, how would you explain what it is that PXP does and what makes PXP Unity a significant step forward in the world of payments?
Yeah, great question. So at its core, PXP is a fintech business. We've been operating for around 30 years. In that time, we've brought a number of innovative solutions to market. But what we really do is we provide end-to-end payment solutions. So we work across a number of sectors, so retail, hospitality, entertainment, and online gaming, to name a few. And we serve a lot of globally recognized brands and underpin their payments. How do we do that? We have a unified gateway that's connected to our own in-house acquiring, which allows us to process the major card schemes. And we have a portfolio of around 100 plus alternative payment methods and financial services. So your PayPal and Blick and other relevant payment methods. And that results in us processing, I think it's in excess of 30 billion euros annually of payment value. So it kind of, I guess, goes to show the scale of what we're providing. I mean, in today's payment landscape, which moves really quickly, we recognize that merchants need more dynamic and feature-rich platforms, and many today offer full stack solutions and not a lot of choice. And that's kind of how PXP Unity was born. So that's a new platform we've developed, where we wanted to bring and provide an ecosystem that allows businesses to pick all types of integrations into our platform and out of our platform. So all business applications that they can connect into our platform that they use to do commerce, whether that's CRM systems, ERP systems, point of sale systems, and connect them out to a bunch of other things. So different acquirers, different fraud screening providers, direct debit providers, all different things. So we kind of see it as a connected environment, which is what Unity is really offering. So I guess what Unity's really providing is an omni-channel orchestration platform. So we're able to enable businesses to consume services from our service catalog that's right for their requirements. And as it's fully API driven, we can also expose very specific services. So if you just wanted to take on a token vault, or you just wanted to do an authentication process, you can just consume individual services. So, I mean, in simple terms, it's about giving merchants control of payments without the complexity of building and managing the payments technology. That's primarily what we're offering.
Wow, and 30 years in fintech. You guys were in fintech before it was even considered cool and reached buzzword status, right?
Yeah, our head office in the UK is a converted corn mill, which I guess would now be fintech. That's cool, right? So it's great.
Love it. And you've also described PXP Unit as a next generation platform that was built from the ground up. So I'm curious, what was the motivation for creating it from scratch rather than just adapting to existing systems? I suspect there's a story there.
Yeah, so it really kind of comes down to our CTO, Salvatore. He saw an opportunity, I think, to do a greenfield development. So to build something completely modern from the ground up without the drag on the legacy system. So we knew we could adopt newer technologies much faster. We've got a super talented in-house engineering team based in Sofia in Bulgaria. And from a technical perspective, going to this kind of greenfield approach has unlocked a lot for us. So we've been able to embed not only new technology, but also new practices. So a lot of Unity is built with AI-driven development in our workflow. So we're already seeing, we're using AI-driven development across all of our environments, but we see the biggest productivity gains when we pair AI with our engineering team in the greenfield build. Secondly, we didn't just want to build a great platform for our customers. We also wanted it to be for our partners too. So in parallel with Unity, we also launched a brand new onboarding platform, and that's deeply integrated into that stack, which means we can offer tools not just to customers and merchants, but also to the broader partners and ecosystem that we work with. And finally, we knew that data would be absolutely critical. So we made the decision early on to build a new data platform that underpins Unity. And that gives our customers faster access to insights, more transparency, and ultimately the much better tooling to help them operate more effectively. So for us, it wasn't about tweaking something that already existed. It was kind of building the platform that we'd want to use ourselves if we were in the customer's shoes.
And when I was doing a little research on you guys, one of the platform's standout features to me seemed to be the control that it gives to merchants over transaction data and smart routing. So can you tell me a bit more about that level of control and how that translates into practical advantages for business leaders?
Yeah, I'll start with data. I think there's kind of maybe three specific ways. So first, how we approach it is to provide different tools, different reasons. So the first thing we do is aggregate new raw transactional data in real time to provide insights through our dashboards. So as a transaction passes through our system, we immediately aggregate it in a bunch of different permutations to be able to provide real time dashboards, which helps turn the complex payment data into strategic action. So we can present success rates, refusal patterns, acquirer performance, or even preferred payment methods across regions in one single pane. But we also give the merchant options to feed in their own data points. So you could correlate payment activity with what's happening on your own systems. So the aggregations come predefined, but we can easily customize them, and we're always adding new widgets to our dashboard so people can select and prepare the right pane of glass for them to see what's going on. Secondly, I think we've built this highly filterable, if that's a word, reporting system that gives really granular visibility into the individual transactions. So it's especially useful, I guess, for industries like hospitality or retail, where you might have a chain of payments. So you might have an authorization, a top up, a refund, partial captures, and so on. And Unity just stitches those events together so you can see the full picture. So you just have access to one of those events and you can see the full chain of activity that came with it. And finally, I guess for those with more advanced needs, we offer direct connectivity into our data warehouse. So that gives you access to the raw data, ingest that into your own systems, and now you can correlate that with your own BI tools or back office systems, and you get full end-to-end visibility alongside wider data sets. And then I think the other part of the question was about smart routing. So smart routing, it's slightly different. So it's about giving merchants flexibility to define strategies that work for their goals. Maybe I'll explain what smart routing is for us. And it's about making a decision about where to send a transaction based on the parameters that came in. So what we've built for our customers is a drag and drop interface that allows them to configure strategies as we define them, which is ultimately payment routing logic without any code. So it's very accessible. So if, for example, a merchant wanted to cost optimize because that was their primary goal, they might build a strategy where all Visa debit cards are sent to acquirer X because that happens to give them the best rate, whilst MasterCard credit cards are sent to acquirer Y because they get better pricing there. I mean, that's a very kind of simplistic approach that you might take. But another merchant might prioritize reliability. So they might create another rule, which is if acquirer X is not responding, I want you to cascade that to acquirer Y automatically. So I think, two kind of simplistic approaches, but what's powerful is that you can combine these strategies to create more sophisticated routing logic. So based on cost, reliability, success rates, location, the transaction value, there's all different dimensions. And then lastly, for the merchants that prefer not to prescribe specific conditions, we can make routing decisions dynamically based on real-time performance data. So we're constantly capturing what's going on in the platform and in the ecosystem that we're connected to, and making decisions about where to send transactions. So I think what we know is it's speed and reliability are absolutely critical, because in many sectors, the opportunity to transact with a customer is finite. And we've heard this consistently in our conversations. So if you take sports betting, for example, if a user can't place a bet in that exact moment due to a failed payment, the opportunity is lost, and it has a direct impact on revenue. They'll go elsewhere to a competitor or just not let the moment pass. And in retail, the dynamic is slightly different, but very similar outcome, where customer loyalty is everything. And if a shopper can't complete a payment because there's a delay, a technical issue, a decline, they'll go elsewhere. And consumers have a huge amount of choice nowadays, and they just don't tolerate friction. So we want to give merchants control where they want it and intelligent automation where they don't. But in all cases, it's about really making sure that payment performance is optimized and influencing the outcomes. So that's really quite central to what we've built into Unity.
And also, when I was researching all things PXP, I also came across one of your recent surveys. And one of the standout stats in that report was 64% of merchants now view payment tech as a strategic growth driver. So why do you think there is this shift in perception happening right now? And how are you at PXP responding to that demand?
Yeah, the fact that 64% of merchants see it as a strategic driver rather than just a back office function, I think really marks a shift in minds. So that stat comes from a survey that we ran with Census Wide. And it confirms what we've been seeing in the market, which is that payments infrastructure is actually now part of the growth conversation. So enterprises in particular seem to be leading into this. Our findings sort of showed, I think it was 3/4 of large businesses called out capabilities like real-time BI, intelligent routing, and AI enhanced platforms as being critical. 60% said they were focused on creating unique payment experiences, and over half were planning to pioneer new commerce models off the back of smart payment tech. So I think what does that mean is we're seeing a trend that payments aren't just about processing, they're about performance, personalization, and customer experience. And that's the gap that we set out to address with Unity. We built a platform that unifies commerce and payments into one ecosystem where merchants get more control over the data. They can implement these smart routing strategies we spoke about earlier, and they have access to a catalog of services that they can enable as and when they need. And the best part of it is it happens through a single integration. So they get all of the agility without the integration overhead. And that's kind of how we're responding to where the market's heading. And many enterprise businesses, especially those that are operating across different geographies, are currently having to build and operate their own payments infrastructure and manage a suite of integrations across them in order to access very specialized payment methods or services. And this can be really burdensome to businesses that are having to maintain and continually develop new capabilities. So I think that single integration for us is really, really, really key.
And I would imagine that a rise in cyber attacks that have recently brought down retailers is probably one of the many reasons responsible for the fact that security, reliability, and unified commerce are all becoming incredible high priorities for merchants now. So how do you at PXP Unity address some of those needs, especially during peak periods across multiple sites, sales channels where downtime is just not an option?
Yeah, I mean, so these priorities have always been there, and they're always front of mind for merchants, and I think the data that backs it up. But we did another study, and in that research, merchants told us that when they're evaluating payment platforms, they always prioritize security and fraud prevention first. I mean, I think that the damage that comes to brand is huge, and we've seen firsthand in recent times with Marks and Spencers and others that they've had some real challenges with that. But then it's very closely followed by reliability, and peak periods are a key point. So for us, I mean, we work with a number of retailers globally, and Black Friday, we see it upwards at sometimes of 10x in terms of transaction throughput from those customers in a very short space of time. So it's any blip will have just a huge impact. So reliability, not just during peak periods, always is really, really, really important. And then lastly, the ability to unify payment channels through a single integration. So imagine now you're having to manage the security and fraud prevention and reliability across a whole suite of different payment providers. It's incredibly challenging. So, at first, people prioritize security above everything, reliability, a very close follower, and then unification is the bit that people are now trying to fix, and that's what we think that Unity delivers. So from a security and reliability standpoint, it's a containerized platform, but we built it on enterprise grade infrastructure. We've got the ability to scale it seamlessly, even during those high volume events like Black Friday or major sporting events, and it doesn't compromise the performance or stability. And then because it's modular, you can introduce specific functions without impacting the whole system. So you can just consume pieces that are relevant to you at points in time if that's so necessary. And then from a unified commerce perspective, which is the bit that people are really now trying to lean into, it's designed to connect the dots in store, online, and through mobile channels, so the customer experience feels consistent. So there's other people that do orchestration, but we're doing orchestration across channels. So that means we can have the same experience in store, the same experience online, and we can switch out to those different payment providers that you want to put on the back end of it. And I think what's really powerful is the self-service capability, so that you don't have to wait on us. Everything can be controlled through our portal or API. So routing control with success rates, cost, and adapting those strategies can be done in real time and applied immediately. So as you start to see that acquirer Y is performing poorly during your peak period, you can tweak your strategy accordingly. So I think, it's about giving them control in one place.
So you've gone out there, you've built this platform that supports self-service and customization at scale. I'm curious, from the moment you've done that, with probably more than a few use cases in mind, how did merchants then take that baton, and how are they using that flexibility to create more unique or efficient payment experiences? Did anything take you by surprise? Because very often when customers get their hands on some of this stuff, they create things that you probably never even thought of.
That's exactly what merchants value about it, is the level of control. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's built for self-service. So you can plug in services and configure flows and manage your payment stack independently without waiting on us. But then we've got other features such as event systems that provide notifications in real time about all different events that go on in our system. So you can subscribe to a whole manner of events. And what we then don't know is how we use that to build their operational workflows. So we've created this framework where you can consume all sorts of events and notifications through webhooks to see what's happening at each interaction, but then you can prescribe ultimately your own payment workflow off the back of those events. So, people are doing, various things, but it's really about making decisions at the point that makes sense for them, and tailored decisions about how to pursue the remainder of a transaction.
So if we were to look further ahead, we've already got our eye on 2026, only 6 months away. What do you think will define that next wave of innovation in payments? And again, how are you at PXP positioning yourself to stay ahead of some of these trends too?
Yeah, I think we're at a point now where payments aren't just seen as back-end infrastructure anymore. I think I mentioned it before, but it's become a real growth lever.
Yeah.
So it affects everyone from customer loyalty to brand reputation, and in some cases even people's expansion strategy when they want to reach into different geographies. And the merchants that are moving fastest, I think, are already embedding payments into their broader business thinking. They're not just asking if a system works, they're asking how it helps them grow, and how they can use data to understand customer behavior better and offer more personalized interaction. So I think personalization is been a factor for a while, but I think that will continue to grow. And at PXP, we see that shift happening in real time. So we've kind of built it not just to support today's needs, but to be flexible enough to evolve with what's coming next. And then, I mean, we have to talk about AI, and AI in payments is equally important as it is in other tech industry. So it's something we're really monitoring closely, is how AI agents will play a role in automating and optimizing payment flows. So there's numerous frameworks that are starting to come out about how you can delegate tokens to agents to be able to make payments on your behalf, and it's really interesting to see how that might play out with how that also intersects with the regulatory framework. So it's going to be quite interesting. We're also looking at how frameworks like MCP in AI can enable faster and more secure integration with those agents. So whether it's on the traditional payment rails like Visa, or perhaps other platforms like blockchain. And on the regulatory side, I think this is something we're seeing positive signs on, is that we see more proactive engagement. So a really good example is that the FCA have launched their AI sandbox, which is a clear signal for us that regulators aren't just reacting. They're now actively considering how we can encourage and empower innovation in a safe and structured way. So I think, AI is going to continue to play a big role in payments.
And obviously, you're well ahead of the trends here, leading the way. And there's a real pressure on us all to be in a state of continuous learning. But as someone that's out there in front, I've got to ask, where or how do you self-educate? How do you keep up to speed with everything?
So continuous learning is something that's really important to me, and I always recommend that people invest in their own development, whether it's soft skills or diving deeper into technical areas. But I think the truth is that learning is very individual, and the key to start is understanding how you best respond to information. It took me a long time to work this out for myself. But for me, I learn best when I have a real use case in front of me. So if I have a problem I want to solve, I work through the solution, and the process, the experimentation, the mistakes, the failures, the friction is what helps the learning stick. So at the end of it, I don't just know what works, I know why it works. So, it sounds like quite a technical principle, but I think you can apply that to all different things. And I've used that logic in a variety of ways. But, we're really lucky in this day and age that there's more information available than ever before. And the challenge is trying to filter through it and find what's relevant. So for me, it's about approaching learning with intent. So start with a goal and then consume thereafter.
100%. And I love chatting with you today. We covered so much ground in a short amount of time. But for anyone listening, wanting to learn more about PXP, everything that you offer, keep up to speed with further developments throughout the year, where would you like to point everyone?
Yeah, so our corporate website is www.pxp.io. We have a LinkedIn page. We will be sharing more and more market research out there. So there's lots of great information there. I believe we have an Instagram. But yeah, I think LinkedIn or our corporate site will be the best place to find us.
I'll add links to everything, including your Instagram there. I'm interested what you have on your fintech Instagram, see what we can, what is on there. But just thank you for sitting down with me, talking about this next generation payment system called PXP Unit, but also talking about it in a language that everyone can understand, especially business leaders looking for that ROI in any technology, especially fintech. But thank you for sharing your story today.
Thank you, Neil, for having us.
Are your payment systems helping your business grow or slowing it down? I think talking with PXP today showed me that modern payment technology, it must deliver speed, control and transparency, all while freeing teams to focus on bigger goals. And I think Dwaine's vision proves payments no longer belong just in the back room. They're shaping customer experience and competitive advantage. So if you want payments to fuel your business, now is the time to rethink the tools and the partners that you're relying on. And ask yourself, is your payment stack ready for what comes next? Let me know your thoughts. That's it for today. I'll be back again tomorrow bright and early. Remember, you connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. Just at Neil C. Hughes. Let me know your thoughts. And I'll be back again with another guest. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.